Hello everyone, we're going to get right into this video and I suggest you watch it, especially if you're certified and accredited to ANSI-ANAB, or if you have the ANAB logo on your certificate, they screwed you. Now listen and listen well. The illusion of quality, how Boeing, the American National Standards Institute, the American National Crediting Board betrayed American industry. Only Daryl Guberman knows the way out. By Daryl Guberman. Recognized quality expert and Boeing shareholder. Do as we say, not as we do. That phrase, unspoken but enforced, has defined the relationship between the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accreditation Board. It has destroyed lives, it has crippled honest profits, and it has betrayed the very principles of quality that once built the America's backbone. The Great Confusion. Let me start with this fact. In 2018, ANSI quietly took over control over ANAB, but instead of merging into one transparent body, they kept two names, two identities to confuse you, the business owner, just like they're doing in 2026 with the IAF, the International Accreditation Forum, which ANSI-ANAB founded, and ILAC, the sister organization of ANSI-ANAB. IAF is in Delaware, and ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, is in Australia. Their sister organizations, national and international accreditation bodies, sit on there, and ANSI and ANAB are their underwriters because they are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI-ANAB. But instead of merging into two transparent bodies, they kept two names, two identities to confuse you, the business owner. And rightfully so, because you are already confused. You're not supposed to know who is in charge. You're not supposed to know who oversees your certification, your audits, or your data. The confusion is not an accident. It is a strategy designed to keep you compliant while those at the top remain untouchable. After 9/11, the turning point. After the tragedy of September 11, 2001, Boeing announced it would lay off up to 30,000 workers. But 7 months later, instead of rebuilding trust in American workforce, Boeing released two supplier bulletins and changed the game for everyone else. April 2002, Boeing issued a bulletin mandating certifications for critical flight safety processes, including heat treatment, welding, and non-destructive testing. July 2002, they introduced AS9100, the international standard for aerospace, and it was a requirement, the International Aerospace Standard. And in the bulletin, Boeing stated that all suppliers must be certified to AS9100 and ANSI-ANAB accredited. They even mentioned those organizations by name. But here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen, business owners. Boeing itself was not certified AS9100 for 22 years. 22 years, do you hear that? And they were pushing it on you. 22 years of hypocrisy, 22 years of illusion, 22 years of control, while the rest of the aerospace world paid billions to meet a standard that Boeing didn't even hold. The $4.3 billion illusion. Between 2002 and 2024, aerospace suppliers in the United States spent roughly $4.3 billion, but when you figure everything in, it comes to almost 15 to 20 billion, and that's only in the United States. If it's worldwide, it's in the trillions with all the other certification derivatives. Boeing didn't spend a dime. And here's where it gets worse. Boeing sat on ANSI-ANAB's Management System Accreditation Committee, the same committee that had the authority to grant, suspend, and withdraw certifications. Think about that. They weren't even accredited to AS9100, and they were telling you what to do? Boeing, a company not certified to AS9100, was sitting in the room making decisions that determined whether you, the supplier, could stay in business. That's not oversight. That's industrial fraud, a global web of conflicts. ANSI and ANAB also maintained international mutual recognition with countries like Iran, Pakistan, China, Iran, who harbored some of the terrorists of 9/11, Pakistan, who harbored Osama bin Laden, and China, who's been stealing American data and technology for decades. And you're paying for that if you're ANAB accredited, no matter what registrar you are. Do you like that? Look at the Twin Towers. Remember that. And yet, these same countries are recognized as equivalent quality authorities under ANSI-ANAB system. It's unthinkable, and yet it's reality. The exploitation of the supplier. If you owned a machine shop, say Joe's Machine Shop and Boeing or Pratt & Whitney or Lockheed Martin or Hamilton or Rockwell Collins came in, they often required you to assign one of your employees to act as a designated inspector for their parts. That inspector worked for you, but represented them. That is a textbook conflict of interest. You paid the bill, you paid the auditor, you paid the fees. And they called it quality. Isn't that a joke? What it really was a fraud on you and the person they made an auditor for them. The FAA connection and the 737 MAX. In 2005, the FAA granted Boeing limited authority to self-certify its own aircraft. In 2009, the power expanded. Boeing was now certifying its own aircraft technologies and designs. That meant the MCAS system, the system that led to the crashes of the Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air, 737 MAX planes, was never really vetted by the FAA because the FAA allowed Boeing to police itself. Worse yet, the FAA even appointed Boeing employees as FAA inspectors, but those inspectors were paid by Boeing, not the FAA. That is a conflict of interest, a violation of public trust, and a direct contributor to the deaths of 346 innocent people. After those tragedies of 2018 and 19, an FAA spokesperson came forward and said, "We never allow a company to police themselves or self-certify," but that's exactly what Boeing was doing. And ANSI-ANAB, the so-called pillars of quality, were silently sitting in the background, pretending everything was fine. We are left with today is an illusion. Boeing demanded certifications it never earned. ANSI and ANAB demanded trust they never deserved. And American business owners, the heart of this nation, were left carrying the cost, the confusion, and the consequences. This isn't just a breakdown in process. This is a systematic betrayal of American industry, the human economic toll. Because of this tangled web of false authority throughout the aerospace industry, the medical industry, etc., all industries, as a matter of fact, that harbor an ANSI-ANAB accredited cert, doesn't matter, AS9100, ISO 9001, or its derivatives. Honest businesses have closed their doors. Skilled workers have lost their livelihoods. Billions have been funneled into meaningless audits instead of innovation and jobs. The system has punished integrity and rewarded deception. It has taken something sacred, the word quality, and turned it into a comical and commercial gimmick. The closing trust, literally. Do as we say, not as we do. First, it destroyed human lives. Next, it destroyed honest profits. Ultimately, it destroyed every single good and accomplishment ever imagined or achieved under the name of Boeing and the American National Standards Institute, the International Accreditation Forum that ANSI-ANAB founded, and the ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation, the sister organization of the IF, both international and national accreditation bodies that are equivalent to ANSI-ANAB, and they are their underwriters. They take all legal responsibility. This is not a business issue. It's a moral one. And it's time to call out what it is, an industrial scale deception against the very nation that made Boeing possible. The final word. The only individual that can assist you with this mess, the only one who has stayed pure and true to their word is Daryl Guberman. Yes, me. 203-556-1493. And as David Foster Wallace said, ladies and gentlemen, business owners, and I adapted it for me, the truth will set you free, but not until Daryl Guberman is finished with you. And we're not done yet. I thank you.